In the previous module, we saw that the navigation pane is the menu displayed at the left side of the application window. And just as a ribbon, we can also customize the navigation pane. But also here, similar to personalizing the ribbon, this is something that we can only do in the Windows client. So I've opened the Windows client, and now by right-clicking on the navigation pane, I can select here, Customize Navigation Pane. Here at the left side, I can see now the different navigation pane buttons. You recognize Home, Finance, Sales, and so on. And at the right side, you can see the content of a specific button or menu. So for example, if I click on Sales, you can see all the different lists that we currently have in Sales. Now also here, there are a number of things that we can do, but also some things that you cannot do. And for example, if you go to departments, you cannot change the content of departments. So if I go to Purchases Planning, there's a specific content, so a specific number of lists that we have in planning. But you can see here that I cannot add something, I cannot rename or remove something. So departments, as you can see, is non-editable. The only thing that you can do, however, is remove the departments menu. And this could be interesting, for example, for specific profiles for which you don't want to grant access to the departments menu. But that's something that you then might want to do in configuration mode instead of personalization. Another thing that we cannot do is, for example, remove the home menu. You can see here that we cannot remove the home menu, so we're always using the home menu, and you can also not rename it. However, here in this case, it's possible to add lists to the home menu. So for example, if I click on Add, you can see here that we are presented the departments menu structure. And if I want to add something to the home menu, so currently we have customers, vendors, items, and suppose I would like to add resources, I can click on Resource Planning, I can select Resources, and I can click on OK. And as you can see now, resources are added. So now if I click on OK, the system will reopen. And you can see now that we have resources in the home menu. So that's the first thing that we can do. So let's go back to the customized navigation pane. Another thing that you can do now is that you can remove the different lists in the home menu again. So if I would like to remove resources again, I can simply select resources and click on remove. And we can even rename the captions or the names of the lists in the home menu. Then another thing that we can do is go to one of the additional menus like Finance, and there we have the same flexibility. So we can add lists in Finance, we can remove lists that we might not use. So for example, suppose that I'm not using, let's say in this case, cash receipt journals. I can select cash receipt journals and I can simply remove them. If I now click on OK, again the system will reopen. And you can see if I click on Finance that we don't have the cash receipt journals anymore. So let's go once more to Customize Navigation pane. So I clicked on Finance, so we have all the flexibility to add, remove or rename lists within Finance. And what you will also see is now that these additional menus, they can be removed or renamed. So you can perfectly remove one of the additional menus if you say, for example, that you don't need them. So suppose that we don't use approvals, you can simply select approvals and click on remove. You see, so here we have the flexibility to do this. And finally, we can also add new menus. So if I click on new, I can enter a name. So let me use again closing as an example. I can add a specific icon. So let's say that I would like to use this icon. And there you go, you can see now that a new navigation pane button is created. And now I can start entering or adding lists to the navigation pane button. So if I click on Add, I can say, for example, that when closing, we need a chart of accounts. When closing, for example, we also need to check customers and so on. So you see, you can very simply go to a specific place here in the structure of the departments menu, so to the available lists, select one of the items and then click on OK, and now they're added. So now if I click on OK, you will see my changes applied in the system. So for example, I don't have approvals anymore, but instead now you can see my closing menu, and if I click here, I have the chart of accounts and the customers. And also here, similar to the ribbon, you will see that the personalization I have applied to the navigation pane in the Windows client is also applied in the web client. So remember, some of the examples I made is adding the resources in the home menu, and also here you can see now that we have resources. Take into account if you want to try yourself. Before these changes are applied, you first need to sign out and sign in again. So this is something I already did. And you can see now that my personalization of the navigation pane in the Windows client is also applied to the web client. So I have resources, and if I click here on Home, you can also see here, if I scroll down, that we have the new closing menu with my two lists that I've added, the chart of accounts and the customers, and that we don't have the approvals menu anymore. You see, so these changes are also applied here in the web client now. In the practice of this lesson, you can try to add a list in the navigation pane.